I wear a sweatsuit that has little blue lights taped to it. On it are little tracking markers.
So these markers allow a computer later on to track each motion independently. All right, so we have our panel here that we can disconnect and then unpeel the panel if we need to. We can replace it and then plug it back in. We have all 4 Dr. Manhattan effect suits going. We've been working about 4 months developing the ability to put this many light-emitting diodes on suits without getting hot and putting out the brightness that they need. This is sort of the central brain of the system, and this allows us to control different zones of the suit. We even have LEDs on the bottom of his feet, and that's so that when he steps, we actually see light in his footprint. All of this circuitry controls each zone, allows us to change brightness, so if we need more brightness in one spot and not in another.
One other aspect of Dr. Manhattan that's really, really important is the fact that he glows blue. Thousands of LEDs that put out this nice diffuse light that can light everything around him. It's become a major lighting source in the movie in some scenes.
Whenever Laurie, for example, talked to Dr. Manhattan, all the sparkle in her eyes became more magical and did half the lighting for us sometimes.
They paint little dots on my face every day that are also tracking markers.
We're going to do 34 expressions.
Okay.
After we do those expressions, we're going to do something called a range of emotion expressions.
Okay.
And it's something like happy,
Right.
sad, anger. It's just an emotional range that we want to see, and it's going to encompass all the expressions.
A lot of it just comes from how fantastic you think this creature is, or this character is in the movie, and you realize that he's a fully CG character that's going to be informed by Billy's performance.
Essentially, my performance will be erased from the film, and the computer animators will create a Manhattan version of me, and then they'll make it really big and cool.
We're in Dr. Manhattan's lab. He's going to be 45 feet tall in here, and this balloon light that you see up there is going to represent the light that Dr. Manhattan gives out when he's that tall. Because he's a CG character through the whole movie, and we can easily make him 45 feet tall. But then he's got to shrink down and become Billy's size. There's a lot of stuff that happens on the set and off the set that goes into keeping the essence of his performance. It's been an interesting process to carry on from the initial test phase and get to the perfect Dr. Manhattan look and put him into the scene. We've had a lot of discussions in their screening room about how to downplay it and keep it really true to how Billy is doing the performance, and it's a lot in the face, and I'm really amazed that we got that. I think we lucked into something that worked out really well for this film. I think it has been pretty successful. We've got quite a few shots done. We smile a lot in the screening room because it's...
Rorschach is this sort of detective of the story, but at the same time he is psychopathic in his relentless pursuit of justice, or whatever that is. You know, he comes from a broken family and he grew up on the mean streets, and he slowly became this character. He found this hood that has these shifting ink blots on it, that like a Rorschach test, and they constantly are moving, mirroring each other. You know, whenever he looks, you know, they react with his emotions and things like that.
Rorschach's face moves all the time. So that's another whole bit of R&D that we had to do and figure out how we were going to shoot that.
We've done a lycra, which we've screen printed with a photographic version of like a canvas sort of texture. And then we've also put a three-dimensional texture on the top of that. So you end up with this great texture that the camera loves.
Performing with a sock on my head is what I would say, but
The eye holes are very, very large, so you can read the eyebrows and the expression in the eyes.
the idea is so that I can see what's going on, and that so the guys that are actually putting the blood on there can also just see emotionally what was going on during the performance.
He wears that, he emotes, he does everything, and then we take it back into the shop and we track the tracking markers and we replace everything on the face. There are set patterns that we define as expressions. Alex McDowell in the art department created about 13 to 15 different hero patterns. Along the way, we realized, well, if we're going to be faithful to the graphic novel, we should look at what Dave Gibbons drew, because he was actually pretty specific about what blots he would put into each panel and how they would change sometimes. We wanted to get that level of detail into the film as well. We actually go through a hand-drawn 2D process first, and those are all animated flat. They give us back a sequence, and we look at a high-con version of the sequence. So once we buy off on that animation, we already know how it gets rendered, and then it's just all lighting for the actual textured head that we're replacing.
Interesting that the character Rorschach, the most loved character as far as fandom goes, is also the character that is the most maniacal and insane. He's noirish and he voices the movie, but he also is sort of the narrator of the film at the same time. He's constantly commenting on society and on the other characters in the movie and the mystery that's unfolding, and he's the one that kind of drives us through that mystery.